Today, we're going to show how you can take an existing quote and pull it into Excel and put it into a nice, pretty form that you can send out to your customers. We're also going to show how you can edit that quote inside of Excel and then push changes back up to NetSuite, as well as creating a brand new quote from scratch. So as you know, NetSuite allows you to create quotes. Once you get to a certain point, though, working with lots of line items can be cumbersome inside of the UI. You may also want to have specific logic, for example, some quantity-based pricing where it's easier to build those formulas inside of Excel. That way you can leverage Excel to put those formulas in place, make changes to the data in Excel, and then push them back up into NetSuite. Now let's first take a look at how you can give your customer a really nice looking quote. NetSuite does give you this ability to create PDF files. So here's a PDF of an existing quote. It looks okay, but I don't know if I want to send this to my customer. I might prefer to send them something that looks like this. And this would also give the customer the ability, if we wanted to let them change the quantities inside of a quote. You could protect the price field, et cetera, let them make all the changes they want in that form, send it back to you, and then you could even push those changes back up to NetSuite. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this was done. The first thing I want to do is load CloudExtend Excel for NetSuite. I'm going to sign in with token-based authentication, so I just need a PIN number here. Once I sign in, I'll see a list of templates that are available to me. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside this estimate record before we load it. Here you can see my header level fields, everything from other ref number on up, and then everything from item list : line down would be line level fields. So I'm going to go ahead and click on cancel, and then I'm going to click on estimate, and I'm going to load this template into Excel. Now up here in row 1, you can see we kind of hide it in a white font, but if you look in the formula bar, you can see the mapping between Excel and NetSuite. And one thing you can do is change the fields in row 2. So for example, other ref number, you might want to call that PO. So maybe that's your customer's PO. So let's go ahead now and take that existing NetSuite quote and drop it into Excel. For that, we'll need the internal ID for the quote. So I'm just going to put in the internal ID 4213. Then I'm going to use the refresh action, and this will make a call out to NetSuite, and it's going to bring in every line on this particular quote. Here we can see all the fields in that quote, so we can see the items, we can see the quantities, etc. Now, if I wanted to change something here, and let's just say we want to sell this a quantity of 2, and the price, let's say, is going to be $3,000 instead, I can certainly make that change and then click on Update, and this is going to send those changes back up to NetSuite. We know it's successfully changed because the internal ID flips over to green here. So let's go ahead and take a look at that quote. We're just going to go ahead and refresh it here, and we should see now a quantity of 2 and a price of $3,000, which we do. So now we want to send this quotes over to a customer. In order to do that, we're going to need some formulas here. So for example, date, we're going to want a formula that's going to refer back to the date field inside of the table we just downloaded. Now, I do this on a regular basis, and sometimes formulas can get overwritten. So I'll usually have a macro, and I've created one here. I've actually got it set to throw a small error as well, so we can highlight something else that's important. So I'm just going to click on macros, and here's the macro that I created. I'm just going to go ahead and run that. And here you can see that it's actually dropped in the date, quote number, expiration date, who it's for, sales rep. And then we also have the quantity, description, unit price. And here I can just drop those formulas down to the bottom. And you'll see everything populate just fine. Now, I do want to highlight that right here, I actually have this field set as text, and text format fields will not accept formulas. So the first thing I'm going to do is set this to general, and then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to show how we can refer back over to here to this PO number right here. So now we have it. Now we've got a quote that we can actually save. You may want to do a copy paste special as values, et cetera, before you send that out to your customer. But this is a lot prettier than something that you'll see here over inside of a PDF file. So now we're going to assume that you've sent this quote out to a customer, and now I'm the customer, Socially Savvy Studio, and I'm looking at this, and I say to myself, I want 3 of these, I want 4 of these, 5 of these, et cetera, and I can even come down here, maybe I want to set something to 0, et cetera, remove some lines, go ahead and do all that, and then now that customer decides to send this quote back to you. So they'll go ahead and email you the Excel file. And once you get that Excel file back from the customer, you're going to want to go ahead and load CloudExtend Excel for NetSuite again. So I'll go ahead and log in with TBA here. And then we're going to load our estimate template. In this case, we want to make edits to an existing record that lives inside of NetSuite. So for that, we're going to need the internal ID of that quote. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to click on refresh, and that's going to bring in the existing quotes. And then I can start making edits to the quote based on what the customer had sent. So we know the header level information is the same in this case, if maybe the customer provided a new PO number, et cetera. So in this case, we're only going to be adjusting the quantity. So all I've got to do here is put in a formula that refers back to the quote form itself, to the quantity field, and then just drop that formula all the way down to the bottom. And I could have extended it further if I wanted to, if the customer had added lines to the quote. But you can see now we've got quantities of 3, 5, et cetera. And we can just go ahead and push all these changes for this one particular record back up to NetSuite. And we know it's successful when the internal ID is green. Let's go back to NetSuite and refresh that one more time. So that gives a really good example of how to edit an existing quote. But what if I wanted to create a brand new quote? Well, the main thing is you want to make sure that the internal ID field is empty. So that means when we send data back up to NetSuite, it's not going to find a record to update, so it's going to create a brand new record. You can choose a different entity. So let's just say we wanted to create a sales order for someone other than Social Savvy Studio. I'm clicked on View Entity Values over here, and I can search for maybe a customer named Smith. Let's see what shows up here. So we'll sell this to Smith Office Rentals, and we're just going to drag that value all the way down. Now we can go ahead and click on Update, and this will go out to NetSuite, and it'll create a brand new quote for this customer, Smith Office Rentals. Because we're creating a brand new transaction and there's no field set yet for location, we're going to want to add that into the template. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll edit the template record, and we're going to add the location field. And because this is a header level field, I like to keep this up at the top. So we'll just drop location in right here. We'll go ahead and click Save. And now, rather than overwrite this entire template here, I want to take this data, since I've already done some work, and just copy and paste it. So I'm going to go ahead and load the estimate template into a new worksheet. Okay, there we go. So now we're going to just copy and paste some of that data. So the first thing I'm going to do is just copy all the line level fields. And by the way, we don't need line number either. That'll be automatically generated by NetSuite. So let's just copy the items that we need. And then we're going to come back and copy the rest of the data. So we have the entity, PO number, etc. Let's drop that in. And then we need to set the location. So we're going to set this location to our East Coast warehouse. So I'll look at the list of valid values for the warehouses. Here's East Coast, and then I'll just drop that all the way down. And now I'll be able to take and create a brand new record without receiving any errors from NetSuite. Now we can go take a look at this internal ID 6123, and we'll see that there's a brand new record created, a brand new quote for Smith. So here it is. So again, much, much faster than actually doing this inside of the NetSuite UI. Hope these few examples really helped you learn a little bit about how to use the quote template.